Hi, I'm Elena Blackmore, one of the engagement producers working for artist Mundi for this exhibition, and I'm going to describe the artworks in Sawangwongse Yawnghwe's exhibition, which is on display at Aberystwyth Art Centre until March 2026. The exhibition is part of Artist Mundi 11, the biennial exhibition currently taking part in various venues across Wales, celebrating contemporary international visual art that probes us to ask questions about the human condition. Sawang is a multidisciplinary artist from Myanmar, living in the Netherlands. He was born in Burma, as Myanmar was then known, in 1971, into a revolutionary family that were exiled and later sought asylum in Canada, where he grew up. His grandfather had been a previous monarch in Burma, who became the first president after independence, and later died in prison as a political rebel against military rule. Myanmar was and is a deeply divided country, a previous colony of the British Empire, with 130 ethnic groups who were pitted against one another by the colonial powers. By the time they achieved their independence in 1948, the country was rife with resentment, power battles, and deep distrust between groups. Democracy soon descended into military coups and rule, and the country is in crisis and political violence to this day. Sawang's art is about the narratives that form a nation and the construction of truth. He juxtaposes official narratives and stories with images from his personal family archive, and he highlights and uplifts resistance figures and spokespeople, particularly women. There are 3 series of quite different works in this collection, different enough that many first-time visitors to the exhibition ask whether it's the same artist. He is in fact a trained painter, and these works could be understood as a masterclass in different painting styles and their critiques. Despite their difference, they are connected by common threads in their critique of oppressive military rule, challenge to the official narratives, and highlighting in subtle and not so subtle ways the role of the global opium trade in current power structures. The exhibition is in one big open gallery space with high ceilings and white walls. As we walk into the space, there are 5 immediately striking, very large paintings of approximately 3 by 4 metres on canvas across 3 walls. 1 on your left, 2 on your right, and 2 on the wall ahead. On the 4th wall, if we move to our left and turn to face the opposite direction, we are presented with a series of 10 smaller easel paintings in a line, very different from the first 5 pieces. Finally, directly above us as we enter the space, we pass under 3 thick strings, like washing lines, with 20 rectangular strips of coloured fabric pegged to them in rows. A photograph of my grandmother with her children, 2025. We'll start with one of the 5 large paintings that we first encounter as we enter the gallery space. Each of these paintings is a juxtaposition of bold geometric patterns of contrasting colours and a black and white and photorealistic portrait of a group or individual. The black and white images are all taken from Sawang's personal family archive, copied meticulously in his paintings, and the geometric patterns are taken from architectural features or common fabrics in his family's houses. The colours are also coded with meaning. For example, black and red recalls the fascist flag. In employing this technique of this juxtaposition, Sawang presents the contrast between personal histories and political narratives, which sometimes feel impossible to reconcile. Sawang says of these paintings, it would be a fool's errand to pretend to understand what's going on there. In reality, no one knows what is happening. Sawang's work often also highlights the role of women in political resistance, as is the case here, where 4 of the 5 paintings depict significant women. They are uplifted both as leaders and as those who hold the archive or carry both political and personal memories and stories. The painting we'll focus on is the one entitled A Photograph of My Grandmother with Her Children. It is one of the 2 large hanging paintings on the wall directly ahead as we enter the gallery, of around 3 by 5 metres. In this painting, the photo image is small, perhaps 1/10 of the whole canvas, positioned slightly off-centre, closer to the top left. The image is a copy of a family photograph of a Southeast Asian woman and her children, 4 young adults. The group sits around a circular table with drinks on it, in a busy bar or restaurant. The picture looks like a holiday snapshot. The mother of the group, the artist's grandma, is to the left of the table, smiling as she takes in the scene of her children. Two sons smile awkwardly, one of them with his back to us, turning for the camera, but neither quite looking at the camera or their mother. Another looks unimpressed, perhaps by the camera itself, partially hidden behind dark glasses. Only one of the family group, a girl or young woman directly opposite the photographer, looks directly at the camera, head cocked to the side, grinning, drinking through a straw. Behind the group there are other figures, a pillar, tables, a crate leaning against a bar. The image is in a black and white, with a subtle sepia hint. But it is almost overpowered by its surrounding frame, a variety of abstract blocks of stripes in different orientations and different colour palettes set against each other, some parallel, some perpendicular, some diagonal, to create an almost optical illusion of shape and colour. It primarily consists of blocks of black and white stripes, with small sections of colour here and there, green and white, red and yellow and white. Sawang grew up in exile, born in a rebel-controlled state in Myanmar to a family of royal descent and later political resistance. His grandmother and father co-founded a resistance movement after the death of his grandfather in prison and an uncle's assassination. So all is not as it seems in this family portrait, which feels almost overwhelmed by the abstract patterns that surround it. Still Life with Foreign Mud, 2023. 10 easel paintings of around 25 by 40 centimetres are lined along this wall, presenting what at first appear to be a very traditional still life form. The paintings are identical in structure and content, the canvas almost filled by one vase of flowers, primarily poppies, that spill out and fill the frame. Each one differs in its colour palette, some lighter with white and purple flowers, some stark and rich reds, some white against the darkening green backdrop. But each of them feels slightly overdone, overworked. The paint a bit too thick, the flowers drooping strangely, or too bright. They verge on kitsch, almost grotesque in places. Sawang described his process, thinking about when a teacher would say, "Don't let your brush get muddy," and doing the opposite, letting his brush get intentionally muddy and moving from piece to piece until the final pieces were so dark they were almost black. The poppies that feature so heavily in these images recall the opium trade and the devastating impact of colonial economic policies. Foreign mud was a colloquial term for the opium that was illegally imported into China by the British East India Company in the colonial era, and which continues to this day. The thickly applied paint resembles the consistency of opium tar, the discomforting colour schemes and lighting reflecting opium's devastating impact. Thematically, these images also connect to other works in this exhibition. Crossing the Salween, one of the large hanging paintings with the stark geometric patterns, and in this case a black and white image of a trading boat on one of the major rivers of Southeast Asia, plays a key role in this opium trade. In the National Museum in Cardiff, another of Sawang's works, one of his Parallax series, is a huge geopolitical mapping of the many political, state and extra-state actors driving and impacted by the opium trade, from government actors and rebel groups through to large corporations and Western governments. Military Decor, 2017. The final artwork we'll explore is Military Decor 2017, which hangs above us as if on washing lines as we enter the gallery space. Around 20 strips of fabric, each of around 25 by 60 centimetres, hang high above from 3 lines using bulldog clips. They are each painted in different horizontally striped colour blocks, one with large orange colour blocks with black stripes separating them from a white centre, one striped blue, white and red, one thin red and white stripes with a larger red stripe in the middle. These strips represent the different flags and military insignia of the military regime and rebel factions, highlighting the normalisation of military symbolism in everyday life and fashion. From where we enter the gallery, our first view is actually of the backs of these pieces, which feel mostly like unfinished drafts, some of them painted like the others, some not, some with scribbled writing or pencil lines. On one, the statement, "Free Lawi Wang," is printed in large letters, a direct reference to the imprisonment of a journalist in 2017 who was reporting on military abuses under an outdated colonial law. In Myanmar, there is a commonly held belief that a man will lose his power and become emasculated if he walks under a woman's garments, something that protesters use even today, hoisting up washing lines to deter the military and police from stopping their descent.